Okay, so now that we've learned the sine law and the cosine law, we are going to move on to applications. But before that, we're just going to practice one type of question that says solve the triangle. So when you're asked to solve a triangle, it means you have to find all the missing sides and all the missing angles. So when I look at this triangle, I'm missing angle H, I'm missing angle K, and I'm missing the side P. So now I have to look at what do I have, so what can I solve for first? So when I look at this triangle, first thing I notice is it's not a right angle triangle, so I cannot use Pythagorean theorem and I cannot use SOHCAHTOA. So I'm left with sine law or cosine law. When I look at this one, I have a side, an angle, and a side, which makes me think of SAS, which makes me think of the fact that I can use the cosine law. So I can use the cosine law to solve for side P, which is across from angle P. So to do that, I'm going to set up the cosine law to solve for a side. So P squared is going to equal the sum of the other two sides squared and added together. I guess that is the sum. Minus 2 times those two sides times the cos of the angle across from side P, which is 108. Then I'm going to plug all of that into my calculator to get P squared. So I'm going to plug in 17 squared plus 28 squared minus 2 times 17 times 28 times the cos of 108. A lot of people are tempted to put an equals there. And I get 1,367.1841 ... Then to find P, I'm going to take the square root of that answer that I just got in my calculator. So I'm going to keep that in there. I'm going to hit square root. Now I can just hit equals. Some people have to put in alpha answer. But I get 36 point. Now, this is going to be a final answer, but I also may have to use it again. So I'm going to record at least 4 decimal places. So 36.97545. So I wrote 5 decimal places because if I wrote to 4, I'd have to round it. So I always just go as many as I need until I don't have to round, as long as I have at least 4. I'm also going to store this as A in case I have to use it again later. So store A. But I'm also going to record that side P to the nearest tenth. This 9 is going to round up to a 10, so it's going to be 37.0. Now, what else can I solve for? I now know that this is 36.97545. So what do I have? Well, to solve for angle H, I now have all 3 sides, which means I could use the cosine law, or I have a known angle across from a known side, so I can switch to sine law. And it's personal preference. You will get the same answer regardless of what you use, as long as you set them up correctly. So I'm going to set up the sine law. So to solve for an angle, I'm going to put my unknown angle on top. So I'm going to say that the sine of H, and it doesn't matter which angle I solve for first. So the sine of H is across from 28, just like the sine of 108 is across from that side P, so that 36.97454. And if you have stored it as A and you've defined it as A, feel free to just put an A in a box here. I find that kind of shows that you're using an answer from somewhere previously, as long as you've defined it. And I also have it stored in my calculator. So now what I'm going to do is to solve for sine H, I'm going to take 28 and times it by the sine of 108, and then divide it by the sine of, recall A, or of the answer, or type in at least 4 decimal places. Whatever floats your boat. And you get for sine H, oh, sorry, I just typed that in wrong. I put sine in there. That was silly. Okay, divided by A. I don't know what I said there too. So to plug this in, I'm doing 28 times the sine of 108. Maybe I should put down what I'm putting into my calculator so you guys can see. So I'm typing into my calculator 28 times the sine of 108, and then I'm dividing by 36.97454, ... or recall A or answer. Okay, so we should get 0.72019, ... Now to solve for H, I'm going to take the inverse sine of that answer. So the inverse sine, second function sine of that answer gives me 46 point. Now again, this may be a final answer, but I may have to use it again. So I'm going to keep at least 4 decimal places. So 46.07068. Again, I kept more because I was going to have to round. So then up here, I'm going to say that angle H is 46.1 degrees. Then I have a choice. I always have choices, but now I have a choice for solving for angle K. I now know two angles in a triangle. So angles in a triangle add up to 180, so I can subtract from 180. Or I could do the whole process again. I could use sine law, I could use cosine law, and then I could solve for angle K, and then I could double check my answers to make sure they add to 180. So I think that's what I'll do. Again, if you're feeling confident with what you've done, feel free to solve for angle K by doing 180 minus 108 minus this 46.07068. But I'm going to set it up as the sine of K is across from 17, just like the sine of 108 is across from that answer A. So then I'm going to solve for the sine of K, same way I did this one. So I'm going to do 17 times the sine of 108, and then I'm going to divide that by A, and I get 0.43726. And then to solve for K, I'm going to take the inverse sine of that answer, and I get 25.9293, which is going to give me 25.9 degrees. Then I can just double check. So I'm going to take that 25.9, I'm going to add 37 and add 108, and I'm going to check to see I get 180. And I think I said that wrong. I think I actually added side P into that. I was like, why isn't this working? So 25.9 plus 46.1 plus 108, that should give me 180. So I'm good. And again, I could have solved for angle K simply by doing 180 minus 108 minus 46.1 or 0.07068, and I could still get 25.9 degrees. Awesome. So that is solving a triangle using my non-right angle triangle laws.